Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. What do you want to say?
We gotta restart that.
Okay, do it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
What do you want to say?
I don't know.
We don't know what we're doing. So we're going to go on this little journey where we don't know what we're doing. We're going to try to figure it out and share it with people. So what is the journey we're doing?
We're trying to record an album
Yeah.
with home gear and a home studio. So we have microphones here, an interface, and a recording software. And we're gonna try to record an album using Robot Dog Studios tips and help in his videos, and we're gonna see what we can make.
Yeah. So we'll start this journey. I'll go over just some of the very basics that an advanced person like the Robot Dog Studios, they take for granted because they know it great. We don't, right?
Yeah.
Especially these guys. So we'll get the ball rolling with that, and then we'll hand it over to the band. You'll meet the other band members hopefully shortly and see them try to record in the basement, 8-channel input and into what we're using Ableton software, and we'll see how it goes. Lots to learn, and I hope it's a fun journey that teaches you, this great set of tools that you'll have for your lifetime once you learn it. It's gonna be painful getting there, but once you get there, you'll have it. You'll have it. Yeah, you got it. So okay, we'll see how this goes.
All right.
We're going to start with this very sophisticated sketch here. So this is the intent of this whole exercise. They're going to practice and record in a room. They're welcome to do it over here, but most likely they'll do it over at the drummer's house. God bless all drummer parents out there. This is where they typically practice their loud music. And this room, I'm not sure the size, we'll say 15 by 15, 20 by 20, something like that. And this is a sketch that Will put together, my son and the vocalist and guitarist of the band, the Crazy Apes. And what they'll probably do, we'll put drums over here, the bass may be over here, and the guitar and vocals may be down here. Now what we're going to concentrate on to begin with is all this miscellaneous equipment, and that's going to be up here. You're going to have your PC, etc., and there'll be cables running all over the place. And then there's details, again, the Robot Dog Studio gets into details of angles and such and how to mic things up. So we're going to go over some of these baby steps. So going with this PC, the first thing we have here is our audio interface. So we have a brand that's Focusrite. It's a Scarlett 18i20, and that is below here. And it's a little hard to see at this angle, but there's a number of inputs on the front. There's a couple headset jacks over here, and a bunch of preamps in there. And on the output, there's a bunch of outputs on the out. And if you can see over here, this is sort of where your microphone inputs go. And there's also a bunch on the back. So then let's go to, see if we can do this, the microphones. So there's lots of microphones. There's two types, condenser mics, that's this guy right here, and your dynamic mics, that's these over here. And they have different intents, they pick up different frequencies. So we bought a mic set that was maybe less than $100. It's nothing special, but for this first iteration of getting our feet wet, we hope that will work. The interface that we spoke about before, that's going to run you a couple $100. Okay, now let's move over to this side. So what we have over here, we have a PC. This is your DAW software. We are using the brand Ableton. There's a bunch of different brands you can use, but this is what happens to come with the Focusrite. And there's lots of other stuff. We've got lots and lots of cables, more cables, and probably even more cables. There's headsets that the band's going to try to use to listen to outputs from the DAW. Microphone holders, we're not showing those right now. There's going to be amps and the drums. And of course, I don't know if you can see that, a good band. So the band we were using, the brand is Crazy Apes Band. So that is the general pieces of equipment you're going to need. Now we have 8 inputs on our interface. So we're going to allocate the inputs as follows. The first one, it's a guitar mic in front of the amp. The second is a vocal mic. The third, we're going to put a bass, but that's not going to be a mic. That's going to be a direct input from the amp out. 4, we're going to put a bass drum mic. 5, 6, and 7, we're going to use for snare and toms on the drums. And 8, just one overhead cymbal drum mic. So this is going to be a try. This may change, but that's we'll start with this to begin with. And there's different strategies as well for recording. I think for getting the feet wet, just try recording the whole band at once, but you can use different methods. Again, if you check out other videos, you can see that, and perhaps we'll get into that. Now, the next thing is on the Ableton software, we create multiple tracks. So what we did is we try to name each of those tracks to the allocation we spoke about before. So it may be hard to see, but this track is guitar, this track is vocals, this track is bass, this track is drum, bass, etc. It goes down there, and that is the allocation from your audio interface back to the software and to the mics. So that is your mapping from the microphones into your audio interface, and then from the audio interface into your DAW software. So you've got to make sure all those track properly. Now go up on the setup. On the setup, you'll notice there's a channel 1, channel 2, and those should map to what we said before, guitar, vocal. And on the back are the other 6 of the 8 channels. And we can show those in a second. And this is the back of the interface. The back of the interface, you'll see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now notice 5 through 8, they all have the microphone input. And if you recall, number 3 was a bass direct. So that's what this is. This is going to try to come right from the amplifier. So you'll notice that's a little different. We then laid the cords out on the floor, and we noticed a couple shortcomings to start with. So to start, we laid the 5 cables we allocated to the drums over there, and those look okay. They're nice long cables. But then if we pan over here, remember we were going to have the vocalist / guitarist at a different portion of the room. Well, one of those we get real far. The other one, our cable's too short. It's only 6 feet. So we've got to come up with a solution on that, probably yet more cables. And likewise, the bassist, we put the direct input separator as well. It's short, but that is a cable I believe we have an extra of. So spatially, you got to have the right cable lengths to make this work. So you got to look at those details. Now let's go over the outputs. So this device has 2 outputs, and that is a limitation for what we want to do. So what we have here is our headset. We got a nice long set of cables there, and that will be able to reach over where the vocalist / guitarist sits. But we also want to put one on the second for the drummer, and then we need a third for the bassist. And again, they would have to be long cable sets to get the headsets over to them. So the intent is they put the headsets on, they play, and they can hear all the outputs from everything we talked about as being an input. And since they'll be separated, that's a good way for them to sync up and keep the music tight. So let's see if we can come up with a solution for the third output. So we mentioned before, there's 2 audio outputs for head jacks, and we have more than that in the band, this particular band, 3. So we need to come up with the third output. Well, it looks like it's actually simpler than I originally thought. On the software, on the computer, there's a program called Focusrite that goes with your Scarlett. And if you notice on the left here, this is your channel 1 and channel 2, the ones we just looked at. But if you come down, there's actually others that can drive headsets. So what the only trick you have to play is if you only have a single output headset, it will be mono. If you do stereo, you have to map it to channels 9 and 10. So now let's go and take a look at where 9 and 10 are on the device. This is the output of the device, and for our third headset jack, we'll just plug this into 9, and we will have a mono output. If we had a headset jack that had 2, you would just put it into 9 and 10, and you could configure it for a stereo. So hopefully that will work. That concludes the physical setup for now. From that, we determined we need a longer mic cord. We need 2 headsets. Again, they have to have some long extension cords, and also a long cord for a direct input into the audio interface. Now that we've gone over our physical setup, our first iteration of that, let's go into the recording software. So they call this a DAW, and the particular brand we're using is Ableton, and we're all newbies on this. So the first thing you have to do is go into audio and preferences, and you have to set this up so you can talk to your Focusrite or whatever interface you perhaps have, but that's the brand we have. So ASIO is how we set it up, and it's the Focusrite USB. And then under here, our particular device has 8 input channels, so you just select all those. So if you don't do that, nothing is going to work. So that is the one sort of baby step. You gotta make sure that's on. If nothing's working, look at that. Then once you have that, you can create tracks. So this is an 8 track. So you see over here 1 to 8. And what we did is we put a name in. So you can rename it like this, but it should agree with our physical mapping we had before. So we had our physical mapping that we showed before. This was the list. Then you go into the software, and this is really what specifies the channel. So this one, this is just informational, but this is where that mic would go to. So if you want the guitar, it goes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and all these should be named appropriately. So then you have your basic setup. Once you get that all set up, then you can hit these buttons. Basically, if you would arm the track for record. So if you want it to record all 8 at once, which I think probably is beneficial for your first try, you would arm them all. Oh, that one's not doing it. And then you just go up and you hit that record button and you let it run, and you should see things record. We'll do one here. I don't have the mics in front of me. I should have one here. Let's see. Is anything coming up? Yeah, so right up here you see some information. That is a vocal mic, and it happens to be the dynamic mic I'm holding and talking into, this guy. And so you actually see some content, and then you hit stop. And then you can go back and you can play it. You're not going to hear it because I don't have the headset hooked up for you. But then you would play it on there and you get some information. So that's the basics. There's a lot more you can do with this, but we'll start with that. One other important little detail. There's lots of little details in this, but that you'll find things don't work, and then you got to figure out what. But recall on channel 8 of our mapping, we were using a condenser microphone. So this is condenser microphone versus a dynamic microphone. So what you need for the condenser, it actually needs an external power source. So if we had channel 8 on our particular device, you have to hit this button right here, and that provides power for all 4 of those channels. And my interpretation is if you have a dynamic mic on channels 5, 6, and 7, this power, it does not damage those mics, but it is needed for the condenser mic. So everything should work fine, but if you're not hearing anything out of a condenser mic, that's probably why you need that power applied. Okay, now let's suppose you just recorded all 8 channels, and you had all these, so that all these had these record armed. You play it back, and something doesn't sound right on, let's just say, channel 3. So you can go in here, and you can delete that, and then just arm that particular track. Go back to the beginning, and make sure, if you like everything else, if you like 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 7, 8, etc., make sure none of those are armed. Just arm that channel 3 and hit record again. And then I'll talk into the mic, and you should see some activity here. Looks like we're not adjusted very well in terms of our amplitude, but anyhow, you see something there. And so you are just recording on this channel 3. You're not recording back over 1 and 2. Those remain whole as they were at the start. And then you hit stop. So that would be the way, and then you can unarm this, and you've now laid down a new bass track or vocal track or whatever it may be, and that's how you would do that. And there's just so much you can do with this. You can move things around in time. If it's not the right time, you can clip it. You can move it to different tracks, and add just an infinite amount of sounds. So there is a lot to do. Don't be frustrated. Just start slow and steady. Learn something new each day, and hopefully it's a very valuable tool for you.